I'm Travis.
And I'm Justin, and this is Lateral G's.
Welcome to episode 3 of our 87 Integra project series. In this episode, we remove some extra junk from the engine bay.
And we remove the rest of the suspension. Let's get started.
Alright. First off, I started removing the AC system.
While I started on the power steering.
We're going to replace this panel, so I went ahead and removed it.
Removing the AC condenser turned out to be quite a challenge.
There were a few other miscellaneous items we removed from the engine bay while we were in there. There were quite a few connections to break free to get all the components out of the engine bay.
We removed the brakes and then the front suspension. Forgot how awesome this brake design is.
We've got a bunch of new parts ordered to replace these ones that are old and worn out.
I used my favorite tool, WD-40, to remove these really stuck bolts.
We removed these OEM struts with 185,000 miles on them.
Next, we had to unbolt the torque tubes.
Next, we dropped the front subframe and removed the steering rack to complete the front suspension removal.
We had to cut the exhaust system into pieces to get it out.
There was quite a lot of carbon buildup in the exhaust pipe.
For maximum weight reduction, we removed the exhaust heat shielder.
It's like the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Next, we removed this old master cylinder.
We rolled the car out of the garage to clean it up.
We removed the windshield wipers and the plastic trim to clean underneath them.
We vacuumed up the excess dirt.
We sprayed it down with degreaser, went over it with some old rags, and then hosed it off.
As we rolled the car back in, our supervisor came to inspect our work.
We put the car on jack stands and then began to break down the rear suspension.
But first we need to remove all the rear brake components.
See where it starts there. And cut the top off of it.
You can really tell this car has been sitting a long time by looking at these parts.
Alright. Sweet. That's too much for the shape.
Removing the rear axle was the final step in getting this suspension apart.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our page on Facebook.